Hello everybody. Before we get into episode 5 of How to Science in Kerbal Space Program, I have a couple of things I'd like to say to you all. First is a very big thank you for the response I've gotten on this series. I'm absolutely stunned by the number of views I've been getting. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and checking this series out. Second, this episode kind of got away from me. It's a pretty long one. More than twice as long as any of the others, I believe. But we do get a lot of science done on landing on the moon. It starts off, however, with a kind of aborted attempt at building our moon rocket, our moon lander rocket. So I figured I'd leave that in because it's still a valuable lesson on what can go wrong and how to fix flaws in a spaceship once you discover what they are. And then after that, we go ahead and do a complete mission, launch to landing and return. And then after that, there's a second mission where I just start in orbit around the moon. And we have some pretty interesting adventures on that one. So I hope you stick around towards the end. Again, this is Jim. Thank you for joining me on this series. And now, episode 5. Hello and welcome to How to Science in Kerbal Space Program version 0.23. Today we're going to Moon. And let's take a look at our science real fast. Last time we unlocked the entire 90 science tier. So now we're working on the 160 science tier, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tier 6 out of 8. One of the important things we got in this last tier was solar panels and lights. Those would come in handy. Some ladders and a thermometer, so we can bring that along for a little bit of extra science. Other than that, I think we're pretty good. One of the challenges of this episode is building a ship that will get us to Moon with a lander. Let me load in our orbiter that we used last episode. And one of the issues with this is that getting into Kerbal orbit, we didn't have quite enough power after the asparagus stages pared down to just 2 rockets. So that's one of the issues I'm going to need to fix. But first, let's kind of take this and there it is, the sub-assembly zone. Let's drop that in the sub-assembly. Call this Moon Launcher. So we have that. We can bring it in whenever we need it. So let's build first build a lander. We're all going to need 1 science can. We'll take the 2 goo again simply because that's symmetrical. I'll go ahead and leave the antenna on. Alright. Now the issue is one of we want enough fuel and power to get off Moon and back to Kerbal. So I think we want... we need a broad base to be able to land on some of the slopes of Moon and Minmus. This one, no, that's the big one. This must be the one I'm looking for. Actually, let's go ahead and take the goo canisters off. We'll use that. As our base. I don't know if that's attached strongly enough to do what we need to do, so let's actually go a little bit taller. And then some landing struts. Let's go ahead and overbuild this. There we go. And now we need some fuel lines to make sure fuel gets to these tanks on the outside from this inner tank. Let's bring that down. So we can detach when we come back to Kerbal and just have this part of it. We can fly with RCS or with the jetpacks on the Kerbals to get back into the capsule, but it would be handy to have some ladders. Extra ladders to grab onto, and we're trying to get up there. So we can land on here and walk up and then climb up the ladders. So I think this, well, now we need our goo pods again. Science. 2 times symmetry. 2 times symmetry. Sometimes if you touch something that's 4 times symmetry first, it'll change to that. And then let's put an antenna on the back side. Oops, looks like I accidentally got 4 times symmetry on the thermometer. We just need it once. Alright, so I think that's an acceptable lander as soon as we get some engines on it. There we go. And now that to attach the lower stages to. And now let's go to our sub-assemblies. Bring back our launcher. So we know we have lots of fuel in the center stage to get this to where it needs to go. Like I said, the question is, do we have enough power in our outside rockets to get this into orbit. I'm willing to say so. We need a kind of more of a vertical launch profile, so let's go ahead and try this. Get out our crew. No Jebediah. Let's go with Hanfield. There we go. Save our ship. Oops, I accidentally saved over my Moon 1. It should have been Moon 2. Easy enough to fix because the other one was a pretty simple top part to it. Anyway, let's take this out to the launch pad and see what she can do. Alright, we know the boosters can get this sucker up into space. I might need to add some struts. That's kind of wobbly. But let's go ahead and try it. SAS on. I'm not going to put any throttle because we know the boosters alone can lift this thing. So, 3, 2, 1, lift off. Now what I'll do is I'll throttle up the main engines just before the boosters go down so we don't lose momentum. So far pretty stable. Just gonna give it a touch. Just the slightest touch of lean just so we're not going the wrong way. Watching the boosters. And throttle up mains. And drop the boosters. Alright. We're slowing down a little bit. A little bit of this fuel burns off. Alright, getting ready to detach the first set of main rockets. Stage those. About 10,000, so let's start our lean going. Let's keep it at about 20 degrees for now. Get our map view ready. Again, it's a question of power in these. Once we get down to 2 engines. So we're just barely reaching 200 meters per second now. Probably should have stayed more vertical up to probably 15,000. Apoapsis, we're getting only 19,000. Yeah, I'm not liking this flight profile very much. As you can see, we're getting more, we're kind of sliding rather than boosting straight up. much weight up here. Just barely accelerating. Let's go ahead and lean over more and get a little more in line with our prograde direction. Build up some horizontal speed. Yeah, still only 600 meters per second. Should be around 1,000, 1,200 at least by now. But we learn by our mistakes, so let's go ahead and give this a try. See how close we are. That'll give us an idea of how much more power we need to do. It may be just a matter of extending the asparagus staging into this center one, so we have all three of these engines burning at once. There we go, getting over 1,000 now. Just barely keeping some vertical, and our apoapsis is only 14 seconds ahead of us. It's not falling though, the time's not falling, so that's good. That's one of the clues you want to keep in mind when trying to reach orbit. But we're out, our stage is just about out, so we're going to go to the next stage. Single engine to push this whole thing. Whoops, and I messed up my staging. Well, that kind of makes the whole thing moot. See you back on the launch pad. Alright, I've made a couple of fixes to our ship after a failed launch. One is I've extended the asparagus staging into the center engine. I still need to account for it firing with the rest of them. That's this engine here. So it's now going to fire with everything else in the bottom stage. So that should give us the power boost towards the end of the burn that we'll need. I also fixed some staging issues. I had this decoupler and this one reversed. So I think this will do the trick. Go ahead and save that. And give Mr. Handfield another try. And let's take this out to the launch pad and see what happens. Alright, just a touch of throttle this time. SAS on. 3, 2, 1, lift off. Nice clean liftoff. See your shadow there on the ground. There's the moon in the sky, sun. Nope, no moon. Let's give this just the smallest touch of lean. For booster separation. Should have had throttle up when that happened, so I've lost a little efficiency. I'm going to head straight up until we hit 15,000 on this one. I think that's the best flight profile for this ship. It's just not powerful enough to hold its altitude once it leans over. Alright, let's start a lean. Start it with about 20 degrees. Let prograde catch up to us before we lean more. Let's go ahead and get our map view ready. There we go, already up to 30,000 for an apoapsis. Lean her over a little more. Lose that stage. And I think with the 3 engines now, we actually have enough power to lift this into orbit. 40,000. Looking pretty good. Let's just get this over to the 45-degree angle. Get ready to cut engines as soon as we're about 75. Alright, and we still have a good amount of fuel to push this into a full orbit. Let's Let's go ahead and get this leaned over. Prepare for our orbital burn. Let this fall to about 40 seconds and then we'll start our burn. Oh, we're in space. Throttle up. Okay, it's coming at us, but very slowly. $1,200 out of the $2,300 we need. Let's tip our nose up a little bit to try to chase that away from us. Yep, lost our outer engines. Go ahead and stage those. We've lost some power, so now the apoapsis is really catching up to us. But we'll only have about 300 more to go, or about 400 more meters per second to go. Tip our nose up just a bit more. We have a little cushion of altitude, about 6,000 meters to stay in space, so not worried yet. Just lets me know I probably should start the burn about 50 seconds before apoapsis. There we go, now it's coming back to us. Okay, now we can tilt down to the horizon again. There's our periapsis. $75, $77, perfect. Alright, where's our moon? Let's check our fuel situation. We still have about about 30% of this tank left. Then we'll have this tank for maneuvers around the moon. And then this for landing and getting back to Kerbal. Alright, let's find... Alright, so there's that. About 90-degree angle. There's an intercept. $70,000-meter periapsis. Since we're landing and we have no rendezvous to worry about, we don't have to worry about whether we're going clockwise or counterclockwise. So this will do 862 meters per second. Let me just play with this. See what happens here. 53,000. 7,000. Yeah, so somewhere around there should be about right. Okay, let's get to our maneuver. Let's try not to waste too much time on this part of the flight when we know... Let's see, we're going to kind of... Well, actually some kind of polar orbit isn't too bad for us because that gives us a chance to pass it right up. That's what I get for talking instead of paying attention. But this isn't something that... Whoa, just blew right by that. Such a long ship that keeping it under control with only the reaction wheels from that. I didn't put RCS on it because we're not doing any rendezvous, and that would just add weight to our ship. Perhaps could have added a reaction wheel somewhere down here. Come on, get over. We're already 2 minutes late on this burn. Alright, let's go. Pretty confident that we have more than enough Delta V, that this mistake won't really cost us too much. The only weakness in the ship is actually getting into orbit, but I think that addition we made has helped a lot. Okay, stage. Next stage. This is a weaker rocket. So we got another 2.5 minutes of burn on this guy, but more efficient. Because we started to burn late, the blue marker is going to move on us as we burn, so I'll just have to keep an eye on that. Follow that. And remember, I moved the maneuver node back a little bit from its original position, so we actually kind of burned in the right place anyway. So we'll get an encounter more over here than over here. Let's go ahead and get a screenshot or two here. Hanfield seems rather disinterested right now. Yep, the blue marker has moved away from me a bit, so let's catch up to it. Take a look at our orbital or map view here. Since this... Yeah, I'll keep it up. I was going to turn it off, but this is going to be what we're watching anyway. Anyway, the shutdown so I can make minor corrections once we get an encounter. Okay, we're crashing into it at this moment, so let's kind of go a little more. Oh, 46,000. Perfect. All right, now we can get rid of that. And let's speed our way up to our encounter. Alright, again we're going clockwise, which is anti-spin of the moon, but again, since we're landing and then taking off, we can choose which direction we're going to take off in. But let's get into orbit first. Slow down so we can kind of get oriented first. Roughly there, that'll change as we get closer, so let's go ahead and do that. One thing I didn't do is put some solar panels on it to replenish our charge in case we ran out, but I think we'll be okay. Let's get a little bit closer. There we go, and then burn for orbital insertion. See how much fuel we have. Yeah, still almost half a tank. And this guy. Wrap that orbit around. And what we do want to do is run several of these missions to Moon to get different biomes. There's Midlands, Highlands, and several of these big craters are different biomes plus poles. But let's go for one of these craters on the daylight side. Okay, we got our orbit. Let's bring this down. That's about 48, so bring it down to around 50. $49.36, that will work. This first mission really doesn't matter where we land. But let's try... I don't see that we're intersecting any of the big craters. So let's go ahead and try for just this bright sunny area. So we want to go around and start a retrograde burn somewhere around here. Yeah, that'll work. And that's only 28 meters per second to actually get down to Moon. We should be able to do it with this fuel tank. We'll do it with that fuel tank, and once we have the interception, then we'll separate. And that way this tank will crash into the Moon, and we won't have any debris left in orbit. Alright, let's wrap around. Six-second burn, a minute to go. Let's go ahead and get ourselves roughly in position before we get close. A little more responsive now that we've lost that other stage, and the fuel tank is almost empty. Alright, that's close enough. Not going for a precise landing, so this does not need to be super accurate. Alright. Setting the wrong key, so overshot a little bit, but I think we're still good. We'll slow down. We might end up somewhere in that valley or before it. Or maybe we can even burn and go down into this crater and get one of the craters out of the way this trip. We'll use some of this for our landing burn. Use up as much of that fuel as possible. Yeah, we barely used any of it. Get around to the sunny side here. Get down to something reasonable. Okay, we have to get rid of 500 meters per second of delta V. Let's go ahead and use this now to start slowing our horizontal velocity. And I always go the wrong way on this nav ball. Yeah, if we try to land somewhere up here, I think we'll be in good shape. Another thing I should have added was some landing lights to give us an indication of our altitude when we get close to the ground. Remind me to do that in the VAB when we get back. Alright, let's burn this rocket engine for all it's worth and just slow right down. Follow that retrograde marker. Oh, that's a nice shot. Let's get a screeny here. There we go, successfully used up that fuel. Throttle down, let's stage that out of there. And stage our 4 rockets so we can burn them as we wish. We'll have 4 times as much power and less weight. So we'll have plenty of thrust to do what we need to do. Let's go ahead and get our landing gear extended. 8 legs, that should absorb just about any shock. And nice spread out so we won't tilt over even if we're on some kind of slope. Let's see what is the... Yeah, we'll end up short of that crater. That's fine, it might still count. I'm not sure how extended these biomes are past the crater themselves, but let's go ahead and do a slight burn and just slow down a little bit more. $6,000 meters. These highlands are probably, yeah, we're coming hot. That's why you want all the extra power. Wow. Boy, did we need it. And that's why we needed the very wide landing gear. Not a pretty landing, but it worked. We are on Moon. Alright, time to do some science. Okay, goo pods. We're in the Midlands, that's good to know. 40 science. $40 science, which will actually be more like 9. Materials bay, 100 science. And now let's get hand-fueled Kerman out on EVA. Let's see if there's a just above the moon's Midlands. So being on the ladder again is a different region than being on the ground. So 24 science there. Keep that. Let's get him back on board to store that. And EVA again. Let's can walk him down the ladder here. So here's something that I wasn't sure of before, so let's test it. I think you can collect the data from this and put it in the capsule, so let's do that. And so if I do that, of course, this is just saying I can't run the experiment again, so I can't cheat by doing this. But what I can do is I can store it in the capsule so that I could actually detach that and just land with this. So let's do that. And let's go back up into the capsule. And so if I store experiments, I'm putting it in to the capsule. So that means I only have to land with the capsule to get that, but you can only do one of each type of experiment that way, so I can't do both of these goo pods and put them in the capsule. I can only do one, so I do have to bring this all back if I want to use both of those. So, but that's good to know for the future, is that I don't have to keep these with me when I land at Kerbal, and that would have saved the science we lost from Minmus last time. Anyway, let's go down. Oop, we also want to get our temperature reading. Oh, can't do that with him outside. Let's go and do him inside. Get our temperature reading. Alright, 32 science with that. That's even better than the goo pod. Or not as good as the goo pod, but better than the EVA. Okay, now we can climb down, let go, walk out onto the ship here, get his jetpack ready, and let's do a little bit of flying. Oops, not into the ship. Oop. And that was a very awkward first step for Kerbal Kind on Moon. Alright, let's do his surface stuff. Let's plant a flag. Alright. Moon landing 1. One small step for lots of science. Alright, EVA report. 32 science. And surface sample. 120 science. Alright. Let's see, where are we on the moon here? So this is Midlands. Alright. Oh, wow. Forgot to look at where... Yeah, we're right inside the edge of that crater, so... Pretty decent slope. Alright, time to get back in. Let's see if I can actually fly him properly to do this. Oh, crash him into the ship. And he falls down. There we go, land on that cross beam, grab the ladder, walk his way up, and board the capsule. Alright, Hanfield, you ready to go home? Not a very long stay, but we are here for science, not for sightseeing. Alright, we want to go along the 90-degree mark and fly with the small amount of moon rotation. So, get our engines ready. 3, 2, 1, throttle up. Turn the sucker right on over. Yes, I'm very glad I had the extra power from 4 of these engines to slow me down at the last second there. I came in really hot. So we need about 560 to get into orbit. Okay, let's stop and finish our burn when we get to our apoapsis, and then head home. Alright, let's build this orbit first. Alright, that's good enough for government work. 19,000 will definitely miss any mountains. So we're going home now, take all this science. What we'll have to do is come back several times, land in each biome with a different ship, and collect all the science that's available. See how much science we got from this mission, and then we'll know how much we can get from getting all the different biomes. Okay, the main principle to know in getting back from the moon is you want to burn. So our orbit is this way, and we want to burn prograde to our orbit in the moon, but retrograde to whatever the moon's orbit is. So we want to burn that way so that we fall into Kerbal. If we burn this way, we'd actually extend our orbit, and then we'd have to burn again to bring our orbit down to Kerbal. So here's where we want to burn, somewhere on this side, and we want to burn prograde. This inclination doesn't matter, because once we get out of the moon's influence, we're going to fall into Kerbal's influence. And it doesn't matter where we land on Kerbal, so there's nothing to worry about there. Let's see. And the more we burn, the more we'll fall in. $400,000. $215. $130. $55. $24. $11. Perfect. All right, let's do that. Head around the orbit. This time to remember to do it before the maneuver node, not after. 14-second burn. Should be plenty of fuel. Alright, we're good. Let's get to our prograde marker. This is where our blue marker will be. Yeah, let's go ahead and burn this. Alright, I'm going to stop it there because I want to actually look at what's happening here. 10,000. Okay, we got it actually exactly where we want it. Alright, let's go home. So actually take one more look at moon before we do. Where's Kerbal? Just want to get one more screenshot before we leave. Beautiful. Alright, Kerbal, here we come. I gotta be careful of that 10,000 because you'll whip right through the atmosphere if you are not careful. Or actually, if you accidentally hit 100,000, you'll just, whip. The physics won't even load in the atmosphere and you'll just zip around again. Alright, SAS off. Let's go ahead and burn with our landing stage just so we can drop it onto the ground and not have it as debris. Like one of the things we can do is spin around madly. No, actually what I'm trying to do is do a retro burn. I can't get this thing to stop spinning. Oh, that's because I'm out of electric charge. That will explain it. So yes, it is important to bring some solar panels to recharge that. Now we can start our engines. Actually, I don't think these engines provide electric charge. No, they do not. Fortunately, we are close enough to the ground that we're going to hit it anyway, so let's go ahead and stage those out. If we can. Yeah, there we go. And just let gravity do its work. Get some more nice screenshots. And I will see you on the ground. Alright, safely back on the ground. Did I forget to get a crew report from Moon? So I lost quite a bit of science from doing that, but no matter. Let's recover the vessel. And we have 388 science from that one mission. Yeah, about 9 from the second mystery goo container. 30 from the recovery of the vessel from the surface. 120 from the surface sample. 100 from the materials bay. A very good mission indeed. And the cool thing about this one is that with the different craters, we can get this kind of science at least 4 or 5 more times pretty easily. 466. Let's see what that gets us. So 163 would be 480. So we can get 2 of these. We can get the bigger engines. We can get the large capsule, a large parachute. Here's the one I'm most interested in right now, is one with the docking port. Let's go see the airplane parts, not interested too much. The small probes, no. Electrical, okay, this and the docking port. Barometer will be good on when we go to planets with atmosphere, but on the moon and Midmas won't get us any extra science, so that's not too important. And here we get the landing strut and another parachute. Drogue parachute, so not really too important. So yes, the 2 we're going to get are some electrical and docking port. Alright, and let's take a quick look at our archive. Moon. So we've done 5 reports from, and like I said, I forgot to do the crew report, which probably would have been about 20 science. So that's something I'll have to remember next time. And this is what I got from hanging on the ladder. So remember to do that before you get down to the surface. Because that is a different report than EVA from the surface. Alright, so I'm going to do this a couple more times. First, let's go ahead and modify our ship just a little. Utility. We want a couple of lights. And the purpose of these is just to kind of show us, yeah, kind of pointing out a little bit. It will give us an indication of where on the ground we are. We could even land at night if we needed to, because some of the craters might be down there. And we also need some solar panels to recharge. And 1x6. These will extend straight up from here. Just trying to think of the best place to put these, I think. Yeah, I think just right on top here will be just fine. Other than that, the ship performed very well. We landed on a fairly steep slope with no problems and no threat of tipping over. We got lots of science. So I'm going to do this a few more times. What I'm going to do is going to cut out here and just show you the landing, which may the only real exciting part of this. Plus I'll show you where I land and where I'm getting the science. So let's put a couple batteries on as well. That has 100 units of charge, 400, but this is pretty heavy. Just go ahead and put a couple of these on. Let's go ahead and put them right on the girders. And we'll never have to worry about electrical charge again. Alright, I'll see you near the moon. Alright, we are now in orbit around the moon once again, and we are attempting to land in this crater here. So I set up a maneuver node, and once again I'm orbiting clockwise. To figure out how to make sure I'm orbiting counterclockwise when I start setting up space stations. But that's not really something that's going to happen in this series. It's something I just like doing myself. Anyway, here we go. Let's get our ship near the right marker here. And get ready for the deorbit burn. Bring this down to the far edge because when we slow down, we'll naturally fall into it. There is good because I'm going to start burning here and that'll slow us down to fall into the crater. At least that's my theory. We'll see how well I can pull that off. And again, we'll use up the fuel in that stage as much as we can first. So let's get down to about 15,000. Looks like I overshot. I didn't think that was the crater I was looking at when I was flying over it. Even though it's clearly darker. may have to fly back to it after landing somewhere over here, unless this is some kind of new biome. This might be highlands. Let's go and slow this sucker right down. You know what? Let's go and burn over there. See if I can get to it. There we go, let's land right in that little crater there. And yeah, still have plenty of fuel. Let's find our retrograde, now it's the prograde. Let's go ahead and put the gear down. Still got plenty of electrical charge, so don't have to worry about putting up the solar panels just yet. Let's double check. I think we're going for this crater here. Yes, the first big one inside the larger crater. Again, it's good to know that we have enough engines with enough power to slow us down from just about anything pretty quickly. The fact that I was able to reverse course like that shows that horsepower is good. Get those gear extended. Never seems to work on the first push, so you gotta be careful about that. Alright, let's get some burn going and slow this sucker down. Follow that retrograde marker. Let's turn on our lights. A lot of little maneuvers now. Chase that retrograde to vertical. Quite a bit of slope. Ooh. We only get turn that sucker over. That was close. That was not what we wanted. Again, good thing we had lots of power and lots of fuel. This is getting pretty exciting. Glad I started recording for this landing and not just assume that everything is going to be okay. Let's try this one more time. Chase that to vertical. Lots, as you can hear from the little key presses, lots of little adjustments. You can see the lights on the ground now, coming down very nicely now. Slow this down just a bit. Get this below 10. Shadow. Cut engines. There's a landing. Whew. Wow, that was more exciting than it needed to be. But once again, we are on the surface of Moon. Let's take a look at where, just inside the crater, and inside this middle of this big one instead of on the edge with the steeper slope. Alright, so let's turn off those lights. Let's extend some solar panels. I should have put these on an action group, but looks pretty cool. Actually, let's keep this one in because when I'm flying the Ferber around, I might run into it and break it. So let's remember to do crew report. 20 science, so that's what we missed out on last time. We got just the crew report from Kerbal instead of Moon. Materials Bay, 100 science. Goo pod, 40. Second goo pod, we know from experience now that this is 9.2. Temperature 32. And now to get out, EVA, an EVA report from the ladder, 24. Board, EVA out again. Oop. Sitting on the battery pack. Just jump down. Ooh, stuck the landing. Very nice. Ah, he's happy to be. Let's get a screenshot of this. He's happy to be here. Let's plant a flag. Moon landing 2. Second place is first loser. Take surface sample, 120 science. EVA report from the surface, 32 science. Alright, we are ready to go home. Because of all the extra fuel I burned, this may be a little more difficult than I had planned on. So let's see if we can do this. Okay, let's get his jetpack going. Get up there. There we go. Now I just walk right over. Whoops. That battery pack there may be more of a problem than I was anticipating. Let's line him up and grab that ladder. All right. Get back into your ship and let's go home. Our charge is fully recharged. Let's go ahead and stow these solar panels just to be safe. And our 90 degree is over there. Let's take off. Are you ready, Ferber? 3, 2, 1. Throttle up. Hit that 90 degree mark. And let's get some decent altitude. Fuel seems pretty good there. Let's make sure we don't slam ourselves right into the ground. Oh wow, we are in trouble. Oh, okay, wow. Alright, we gotta burn when we get to there and go home. Let's see how much delta V this is going to take. Again, we're burning backwards to the moon's path. And we need to get an intercept with the atmosphere. 266, 272, I think we can do it. So we did 600 getting off the surface, and I think we used not much more than, just a little bit more than we have right now. So I think we have about 400 delta V in our engines right now. 72. Okay, there's an intercept. Let's just slam right into the ground. Let's get around to our maneuver node and go home. Hopefully not get stuck in orbit. If we do, we can transmit. We have solar panels, so we can transmit most of the science back if we get stuck in Kerbal orbit. And we have to turn right around here. Get this prograde burn to our lunar orbit, which is retrograde with respect to Kerbal. "10-second burn," yeah, we can do that. Oop, overshot just a little bit, but that should not make a difference. Yeah, plenty of fuel, plenty of fuel. Okay, let's go ahead and stop it there and then see how that really stacks up Back at Kerbal, 81,000, 45, 2,000, impact. Alright, we are good to go. Let's go home. Again, be careful not to, well, it's going to slam into the ground anyway, but it is possible to crash right in the Kerbal by going too fast of a warp. Alright, here we go. And we are in the atmosphere. And look at that sliver of fuel we have left. SAS off. Coming in hot at 3,200 meters per second. It's going to be another spectacular fireball. And I will see you on the ground. See how much science we gained. Alright, let's find out how much science we got when it actually did all the science we could do on the moon. 382. Did I miss something? I got 388 last time. Oh, because of the recovery, the vessel was more points for the first recovery. It's 30, so minus 25 there, but plus the 24 for the crew report. There it is. 20 for the crew report. Alright, so we're up to 528 science. That's enough for 3 different techs at this level. So let's go ahead and go for the heavier rocketry. Specialized control. Still don't need space plane parts. Don't really need probe parts yet. Barometer, science. And drogue parachute. Oh, okay, let's go ahead and grab the science. We can't use it on airless worlds, but it'll be nice to have. $48 science left, and then if we get another 380 from another mission, that'll be enough for 2 more. So 2 more missions to the moon, and we'll have this entire tier unlocked. So that is what I'm going to do. I will see you near the moon.